This video is brought to you by my gorgeous New York City themed wallpaper pack, Skyline. Link in the description and details at the end of the video.
Listen, I get it. You're happy with your current iPhone or non-iPhone, you don't want to buy a new one, it's not within budget, or maybe it's just not for you. You're valid, queen, king, whoever, whatever you are. You're totally valid, and I certainly don't condone upgrading willy-nilly. I'm a tech channel, that's what I have to do, but if you're happy with your current phone, you're not satisfied with the new one, that's fine. Honestly, I wouldn't upgrade if I didn't do this job. I'm also not, opposed to skepticism about brand new products that are north of $800 USD. These are pricey devices. We should judge them. But my God, can we please stop the unnecessary hysteria, hubbub, and straight up hatred towards the iPhone 15 series? It's just overhyped and annoying and just wrong. But who am I to talk? I'm this Apple fanboy channel. Look at my channel artwork. I only talk about Apple products. I'm biased. Sure, okay. I also literally posted a video titled, nobody likes your Android phone, which is very provocative, mind you. I totally agree with that, and I'm sure it pissed off a bunch of people. But if you actually watch the video, you'll realize that I make a point that is valid. My point was, when people have enough money to buy an expensive smartphone, a lot of them opt for the iPhone, not because there's any tricks or manipulation by Apple, but because it's just a really good tried and true product. Nobody's going after or thirsting after the S23 like they are with the iPhone. You got a lot more regular people going after this phone opposed to purposefully going towards a non-Apple flagship. Anyway, my point is, I might not be completely correct in this video. I don't think I'm completely correct in general, but I am making some objective points here about how a lot of the, criticisms towards these phones have some truth to them, but they've just been spun out of control by the media and tech media specifically to just garner clicks. And in this video, I want to debunk some of them, but also validate some of them as well. Beginning with hysteria point numero uno. The iPhone 15 Pro is fragile. It's gonna break. You're gonna just tap it and the screen or the back's gonna shatter. No, it is more fragile due to two things. Number one, the titanium frame is very rigid, so that does interact with the glass a bit differently. So it is more prone to break when you drop it, at least on the back. And number two, Apple literally designed the glass to be more repairable, because before, when you'd break your iPhone or the back of it, it was impossible to get that glass up. If you watch tutorials online, it's impossible to peel that stuff. You have to chip it away. You have to have a special machine. And when you looked at Apple Care or out of Apple Care replacement with the Apple Store, you'd pay $500 to do that. When I broke my XS Max, which was a gorgeous phone, the glass shattered because I dropped it on my bathroom floor like an idiot. I brought it to the Apple Store. Thank God I had Apple Care Plus. And you know what they did? They gave me a brand new iPhone because ain't nobody got time to chisel that stuff off. So it was super expensive before, impossible to replace. So what would you rather have? A back glass that shatters a little more easily, but you can replace it for $200 officially at the Apple Store, or probably cheaper at a third-party repair, and for $29, which I think is lowered from the previous rate with Apple Care Plus at the Apple Store? Or would you rather it not shatter, but when it does, it's impossible to replace? Pick your poison. I don't know. Number two, a lot of the hysteria about the Fragility comes from Jerry Rig Everything's video. I am not throwing any shade at him at all. He's a great creator. He does a tried and true, industry standard, stress test on the phones. And the Pro Max failed. He took his hands and went, and it broke. But let me make you aware of something. Unlike you and me and most of everybody else, Jerry is yoked. He is strong. He is crazy powerful. I mean, Darth Vader in the Tantive 4 just cracking that guy's neck. He could probably kill you. I mean, he's a wonderful person, but scary. So, you see this guy going like this, which is a very unnatural, thing to do, putting this much pressure in one point. And I'm sure there are scenarios where this could happen, but are you that strong? No. And maybe somebody else did it. I don't know. Maybe you can debunk me here. I don't know, but I don't think I could do that. And not only that, any scenario where I would be sitting on my phone or whatever, even if you are, physically bigger, heavier, whatever, you're not going to be in that position where you're putting that much pressure in one spot on your phone. So, I mean, I would relax, again, you're not Jerry Rig Everything. You're not this swole dude that can just crush an apple with his bare hand, kill somebody in a fist fight. Stop. The only criticism I have for him is he should have been yeah, and I snapped the phone because I'm incredibly strong and, like scary. So like, that's my only issue with that. Like, you're not him. I'm not him. Nobody's him. But if you are a strong guy, yeah, don't crack your glass thing. But anyway, that's my that's my rant about that. But anyway, moving on to criticism point number 2. This is actually pretty valid and I'm somewhat on board with this. It sucks that the iPhone 15, if it will focus here, doesn't have USB 3 speeds in its port. But here's what I'm gonna say to that. Number 1, most people don't care. Most people don't even know what that is. But if you are more tech savvy and you wanted it, it does suck. The pros get it. It seems kind of like a cheap trick to get you to upgrade to it. But again, most people don't even know what that means. But here's the reason why this is the case. As you may know, the Pro models have the A17 Pro chip. The 15 models have last year's Pro chip, which is the A16 Bionic. Plenty powerful, nearly as powerful as this. It makes sense that Apple wants to save money and probably save you money by putting last year's chip in here. Here's the thing though. The USB connector controller is integrated into the chip. Like, it's part of the chip. There's no controller on the motherboard. This is by design. And what was the connector in the iPhone 14 Pro? What was it? Oh, that's right. It is Lightning. And let's see if that will focus. There you go. And the special part about this was never USB 3 capable. This has always been USB 2.0 capable, or had USB 2 speeds since its inception in 2012 with the iPhone 5. So it is their fault for putting Lightning in this phone. Don't get me wrong, I wanted USB-C since the iPhone 12. I thought the iPhone 12 was gonna get it with the redesign. But of course, no, they made us wait. I'm mad about that. I'm with you there. But like, they literally cannot give you that bandwidth here with the 15 models because of the last generation chip design. They're not going to redesign the chip or remanufacture chips specifically for these models. Maybe that's by design. Maybe they knew this. Of course they do. I mean, they're really good at, positioning their products and getting you to buy stuff, that makes sense, whatever, in their eyes. So, it's sucky, but the thing is, you can't fault them too much because the chip in here literally cannot accommodate USB 3.0 speeds with the connector inputs. So what are you gonna do? Moving on to criticism number 3, the design is the same. Why does it look the same? Why do the colors suck? We wanted something different. Let me ask you something. I mean, sure, other Android manufacturers make some flashy looking phones. You got the Nothing phone. I love what they're doing. Kudos to Carl Pei. I'm just sad his phones run Android. But in all seriousness, what would you like the iPhone to look like? What do you want? What would you like? Are you a designer? I'm not a designer. I really love design, and I've been studying Apple design for a while, and the iPhone has looked plenty different over the years, from the 4 to the 5 to the 6 to the 10 to the 11 to the 12, all the way up till here. And yes, the design is similar, but let me give you a little analogy. Would you rather have this beautiful gemstone that you've gotten used to for a while, but each year it's chiseled differently and it gets more intricate and shiny and beautiful? Or would you rather year from year have a decent looking, mediocre-ish shiny rock with glitter on it and with a crazy color, and then every other year or so exchange this ostentatious, gaudy, glittery rock for another sort of mediocre but bigger, gaudier rock? Like, if you're trying to get a new phone just to show it off and just to have people notice that it's new, that's kind of a you problem, honestly. I don't buy a new phone just to flex it. I buy a new phone because I want it to be better. And sure, you don't have to buy these phones. They are an incremental update in many ways. If you have a 14 Pro, I wouldn't recommend upgrading to it unless you really want to. There are reasons, but they're limited. But yeah, I mean, like, they are all about refinement. Apple is obsessed with refinement. They don't care. They're not asking for your input. I mean, they do in marketing studies and stuff, but they do what they think is right. And so far it's worked. Like, they don't have a $2 trillion market cap for no reason. They know what they're doing. And personally, I think these phones look great. Are they the most beautiful thing on earth? No. You could go for the Nothing phone if you want something really interesting. There are other phones too, I'm sure. But yeah, Apple does Apple, and you're either gonna like it or you're not. And as for the colors, this is where I'm gonna get even more opinionated. I think they're great. The gold sucked. Sierra blue is horrible. I'm sorry. It's just kind of gross and tacky and just, I'm attacking people's colors on their phones. I'm sorry. I think that more neutral tones just wear better. You're not going to get sick of them after a while. And, you can always slap on a really colorful case if you want, accessories, whatever, and then you can take it off. It's like buying a black car or a white car or a gray car and wrapping it. You can always take, the gaudy, ostentatious stuff off, and then you can sell your car to somebody who is more likely going to buy something more subtle. So you can always add color after the fact. You cannot, remove it from the chassis. So I'm all for muted colors, these beautiful pastels here. The pink on the iPhone 15, by the way, is just gorgeous. The green is gorgeous. All of them look great. And the Pro models are amazing too. I'm a sucker for white, although the natural titanium looks amazing, and the rest of them look good too. I'm even a fan of the blue this year, and I hated Sierra Blue in Pacific Blue. So, I think the iPhone's looking great. And not only that, let's talk about the actual sides. I'm sure they're still flat and look pretty similar to the 12, but now you get these like rounded corners, so you can hold the phone without it kind of cutting into your hand or palm. I love that. I've been using my phone caseless because of that now. So yes, it looks similar to my iPhone 14 Pro, but I loved my iPhone 14 Pro, and now it's even more comfortable. And it's lighter. I was at dinner with my friend the other day. He has a 14 Pro, and I handed him my phone, and he was weighing his phone in his hand. He's like, is this one lighter? It's not. But because of the way it's constructed and the titanium is in the frame, it feels lighter. It's easier to move around. So not only does it look the same, it still looks beautiful, it has an even better material, at least with the Pros. And it's lighter. So, the design really has gotten an upgrade here. And with the 15, sure, it looks similar too, but actually it has an even bigger design upgrade. It now has frosted glass, better colors in my opinion, and these wonderful rounded corners. So, don't fix what ain't broke. I mean, they gave us new colors, they refined it even more. And yeah, I'm really impressed by it. You don't have to agree with me, but again, the design is tried and true, and if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. Next up though, criticism number 4 has to do with the camera systems. People were saying it's kind of crappy how the 14 Pro doesn't get 24 megapixel photos because they all, 14 Pro models and all the 15 Pro models have 48 megapixel sensors. Also too, the sensor size in the main camera of the 15 and 15 Pro did not get bigger, like last year when it got bigger than the 13 Pros. Let me start with the 24 megapixel thing. I think it's kind of crappy that Apple didn't give that upgrade to 14 Pro users because again, the 48 megapixel sensor is nearly identical in the 15 Pro and the 14 Pro. But there are some internal differences, maybe some deep software things that they, did to make it that scaling or that sort of optical cropping work. And that's another point I'm going to cover. However, though, in the new models, it's great. I'm really happy to see higher resolution photos by default available. 24 megapixels makes a huge difference when it comes to cropping and zooming. So big deal. Again, kind of crappy that the 14 Pro doesn't get it, but Apple has been doing this sort of software limitation type thing. They did it last year with cinematic mode with the iPhone 14. Like the iPhone 13 Pro could only do HD and the iPhone 14 could do 4K, and it's like they have the same chip. Why? Because Apple said so. So, there's some stuff like that where I can get on board with you. Like, yeah, it's dumb. But getting to the iPhone 15 Pro specifically, another thing people will sort of jab at is, oh, the 7 lenses claim and optical cropping, and that's a bunch of marketing, garbage. And it kind of is, because let me be real with you. Apple is not giving you 7 true optical focal lengths. You only get, 1, 2, 3 optical focal lengths, 0.5, 1x, and 5x. The 1x camera can crop in 3 times or 4 times. 1x, naturally 1.2x, 28, 1.5x, 35, and 2x is 48. But here's the thing though, in all of these focal lengths, you get a minimum 12 megapixel image, which has been standard since the iPhone 6s and is standard in phones like the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro, which are still excellent phones, by the way. So in any sort of camera situation, 0.5x, 1x, 1.2x, 1.5x, 2x, and 5x, you are getting 12 megapixel images, which are sharp and great. And they do it really, really well. There are mirrorless cameras that give you an APS-C or sensor crop mode. So this is not like unheard of. So they call it optical. It's not optical, but it's very high quality. I was very much impressed last year, for example, with the 2x with the 48 megapixel sensor with the iPhone 14 Pro. I took great photos with that, great video with that. It didn't look like bad quality because again, it downsampled to 12 megapixels. But in 1x, 1.2, and 1.5, you get 24 megapixel images and up to 48 with 1x photos. So I don't really have a problem with it. And honestly, I kind of agree with Apple. You are getting, sort of 7 different focal lengths to work with. They're just not truly optical. So Apple's marketing is a little misleading, but at the same time though, you get really incredible quality at all of these 7 focal lengths. And finally, criticism point number 5, another hysteria that has just been blown out of proportion, I think. The thermal issues with the 15 Pro. Are they real? Yes. I have experienced them. My phone, specifically my 15 Pro, which I've been using a lot, is warmer than I would like. I'm not gonna lie. I've been using it caseless just to, because I like the design, but also too, I wanted to sort of take note of that. Yeah, there's something going on. This is not made up. Some people don't experience it. Some people do. Some people have really hot phones charging. But here's what I'm gonna say. This is no Note 7 situation. There was a report of a battery expanding, but that was one person, so we've yet to see if this is going to be a widespread thing. These phones have been out in the wild for a week. Okay, and yes, it is concerning we're seeing this happening, but this isn't the first time an iPhone's been hot. My iPhones have been hot in the past charging before, fast charging, whatever. We have a new port in here, and sure, Apple may have screwed up some thermal design with this. They've done it before. They did it with the MacBook Pro for a couple of years, but is it to the point where I wouldn't buy one of these because of it? No. Is it to the point where you could fry an egg with some of these? No. They actually just today, I think, came out with a statement saying that there's a software issue that they're going to patch and they're going to send out an update. So we'll see how that fixes it. But again, though, your phone's not going to explode. It's not going to catch fire. You shouldn't not get this phone because of it. At least right now, maybe I'd be skeptical for another week or two. Wait till the software update comes out. Hell, you can't even get the phones right now. They're back ordered to living hell. So I would wait for more news. And here's the thing, if this ends up being a Note 7 situation, how can I deny that? I will jump on the bandwagon. I'll be like, this is terrible and Apple screwed up. But it's been a week. It's been 1 week. Like a week and a half, By the time you watch this, it'll be like 2 weeks probably that these phones have been out in the wild. Give it a minute. Apple makes mistakes, companies make mistakes. Samsung designed a phone that was exploding in mass, so, maybe it's that situation, but I don't think so, Basically what I'm saying is, have the mindset of be skeptical. Don't just spend your money willy-nilly, especially if there are some bad reports. But the thing is have some faith that the iPhone is more innocent until proven guilty. You know what I mean? Don't just immediately write it off as, oh, it's just, you can fry an egg with it, so I'm not going to buy it. No. We get to see what the software update does. And again, not everybody's experiencing this. And I'm not trying to invalidate people who've had a really bad experience with the 15 Pro Max being hot, but also too, think about this. If there is an issue, if you buy this phone, guess what you can do? You can probably return it or get it fixed under warranty or whatever. This is Apple's problem. You know what I mean? If your phone is defective and you can go into the store and prove it, they're gonna have to give you something. So if you wanna upgrade, I would just do it. It's not that big of a risk, I promise, especially with the 15 Pro or the non-15 Pro series, the 15 series. I'll be reviewing these phones properly in a few weeks, probably at the 2-month mark, if I'm being honest. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't know. I like to own a product for a minute before I make really crazy judgments about them. Maybe I'm hypocritical, but I haven't given you my review. I'm not saying, whether you should totally buy them or totally not. Again, I've had my sort of initial impressions, but so far I'm kind of still in that stage. I'm using these phones every day. I'm taking notes. I'm, seeing what's great, seeing what's not. I'm literally posting a video today about the things that I cannot stand with my 15 Pro Max, and there are a couple things. So, watch that. I'm not completely biased, I promise. I really do love Apple, and you probably should take what I say with a grain of salt. But again, stop the unnecessary hatred. It is fine to be skeptical of very expensive products in a company that could probably do better in many ways. They can, innovate a little more. I think that they do own a lot of market share and they tend to sort of control what happens, but that's what happens if you don't have really crazy competition. So, if anything, Samsung, and LG, oh wait, they died, any other phone manufacturers, take your time, rival the iPhone. I think it's happening. I think the S23 and the Pixel 7 and the Pixel 8 are pretty great phones. I mean, for what they are on Android, unfortunately. But you know what I'm saying? The iPhone does have competition. But anyway, nonetheless, think about these phones more objectively. You don't have to like them. You don't have to buy them. But when it comes to people buying them, don't not witfully make fun of somebody for buying one of these phones. Oh, did you get the, melting in your hand, disintegrating, gonna catch on fire iPhone 15 Pro Max? No, just make fun of somebody for buying an iPhone. I've heard the arguments before. Oh, you're an Apple sheep. You pay all that money for the same thing, those are good. I don't think they're true, personally, but, use the fundamental argument. Android has more customizability. It's cheaper in some ways. You get more bang for your buck. You get better specs, better cameras, whatever you want to say. That makes more sense. Or even if you're an iPhone user, it's oh, I don't want to pay for the same thing. That makes more sense than, oh, this phone is just gonna crumble in your hand. Stop. Don't listen to the tech media. Don't listen to the media. Wait for reviews. Give it some time. Go to the store. Wait for the software update and just stop. It's gonna be okay. These phones are not perfect. I'm literally about to complain about them in another video and probably in my full review. I mean, I paid for my personal one, you know, I was hooked up with review units, but I bought 2 of them. I bought my personal one. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And even if I didn't, I would still be fair because, you know, people are spending a boatload of money on these every year, every 2 years, and you know, my job is to have some integrity, even if I'm a little biased, you know, like it is in my best interest to tell you the truth, and the truth is these are flawed phones like every single phone that's ever been released, but yeah, the hysteria surrounding them is just annoying and dumb, and just don't buy into it. But before I end my TED Talk / rant here, I want to make you aware of and show off my Skyline wallpaper pack that I mentioned in the beginning of the video here. I have 9 pictures of amazing looking buildings in Manhattan. My personal favorite is of World Trade Center 7. I think it complements the iOS 16 and 17 style lock screen and home screen really nicely. And yeah, that's literally it. Link in the description if you're interested. That is all, folks. Please take this video with a grain of salt. It is a little ranty. I don't think I'm right about everything. You certainly don't have to upgrade to these. You don't even have to like iPhone. I'm just saying, you know, just keep calm, carry on, and don't believe everything you hear verbatim that comes out of the news and tech news. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.